Dream of the Red Chamber Chapter 46.
And I have to say, reading this source material, the whole vibe just shifted. We usually talk about this book in terms of, romance or poetry, but this this is a high-stakes corporate thriller.
It absolutely is. This is a masterclass in office politics, specifically how to handle a toxic directive without getting fired or, in this context, beaten.
And it all centers on two people, really.
We're focusing on Lady Xing, who's the wife of the eldest son, and Wang Fengji, the family's very astute manager.
As they navigate what is basically a hostile takeover attempt inside the family compound.
That's a great way to put it.
So let's set the board. It's late at night, maybe very early morning. The camera kind of pans away from the usual teenage drama.
Right, away from Baiyu and Daiyu for a bit.
And we move to Lady Xing's quarters. She summons Fengji for a secret meeting, and right away the text gives you a warning. The chapter title itself uses words like awkward or embarrassing.
That just sets the tone immediately, doesn't it? Lady Xing is acting on orders from her husband, Jieshi, the old master. He's decided he needs a new addition to his collection.
He wants a new concubine.
He wants a new concubine.
Now, in this time period, a wealthy man wanting a concubine isn't exactly news. It's Tuesday.
Right.
But looking at the sources, he isn't just asking to buy some girl from the outside. He's targeting a very specific internal asset.
He wants Yuanyang.
Mandarin duck.
And to understand why this is such an impossible request, you have to understand Yuanyang's position on the org chart. She is not just a maid.
Not at all.
She's the chief of staff to the grandmother, the matriarch of the whole clan.
The text is incredibly clear about her value. It literally says the grandmother can't even eat rice without Yuanyang there.
It goes so much deeper than just service. Yuanyang holds the keys to the grandmother's private vault. She manages her schedule, her moods, her possessions. Taking Yuanyang away isn't just stealing a servant. It's dismantling the matriarch's entire life support system. It is a direct attack on the CEO's comfort and stability.
So Lady Xing drops this bomb on Fengji. The boss wants Yuanyang, and he wants me to go ask the grandmother for her. What do you think?
And normally Fengji is the yes ma'am right away person. She's the executor. But here
she slams on the brakes. Hard.
It is an immediate hard no. She tells Lady Xing straight up, do not go touch this nail. And what I love here is that Fengji gives her a full risk assessment.
She doesn't just say grandmother will be mad.
No, she lays out a whole dossier on why this is a catastrophic strategic error.
Her analysis is just brutal. She starts with the practical, the grandmother needs her, but then she pivots to the optics. She basically holds up a mirror to Jia, she's reputation.
She points out that he's old, his beard is white, and, as Fengji says, he already has a little wife on the left and a little wife on the right.
He's not even doing his real job. He's just drinking and partying with his current concubines.
Exactly. He's failing at his actual job while trying to acquire more perks.
And she even brings up the younger generation. She says there are sons and grandsons and nephews all watching this behavior.
Which makes it not just a bad request, it's brand damage. It is embarrassing for the patriarch to be acting this way in front of all his successors.
And then she uses this terrifying analogy to sum it all up.
She says asking the grandmother for Yuanyang right now is like using a stalk of grass to poke a tiger in the nose.
Which tells you everything, right? The grandmother might seem like this sweet old lady who likes plays and candy, but she is the tiger.
You do not poke the tiger.
No.
So Fengji is advising Lady Xing to manage up. She's saying, essentially, your job right now isn't to do what he asked. It's to persuade him that he doesn't actually want this. Tell him he's too dignified. Stall him.
But Lady Xing, she just doesn't have that kind of capital, does she? She can't manage up because she has no real standing with her husband.
And that's the core of the conflict. Lady Xing gets defensive immediately. The text says she lets out this cold laugh.
Yeah.
And her argument is just pure entitlement. She says, other families have 3 wives and 4 concubines, why can't we?
It's so interesting. She takes Fengji's very logical risk assessment as a personal insult. She thinks Fengji is saying they aren't good enough for Yuanyang.
She plays the hierarchy card. He's the eldest son. He's an official. The grandmother won't refuse him.
That's just her insecurity screaming, right?
It is. She is this middle manager with no actual power. Her only value to her husband is her obedience and her ability to get him what he wants.
So if she refuses him, she's useless. And if she asks and fails, she loses face. She's completely cornered.
So she lashes out at the messenger, at Fengji, because she can't fight the person who sent the message.
And this is the moment in the text that really made me sit up. Fengji sees that wall go up. She hears that cold laugh, and her reaction is, well, it's instant.
She doesn't double down on the logic.
No PowerPoint presentation.
None at all. This is why Fengji is the ultimate survivor. The source text gives us a little peek into her head. It says she assesses Lady Xing as quite foolish and stubborn. She realizes Xing is not a rational actor.
Yeah?
She's acting purely out of fear and a bit of greed.
So Fengji figures that if she keeps arguing logically, Lady Xing, who's naturally suspicious, will just think Fengji is sabotaging her to, I don't know, getting good with the grandmother.
Precisely. So Fengji flips the switch.
It is a total 180. She goes from, this is a disaster, don't do it, to, oh, look at me, I'm just a silly young person, what do I know?
She just floods the zone with flattery.
Yeah,
she says, you're so right. I'm so young and ignorant. Of course the grandmother will give the living treasure to her eldest son. Why wouldn't she?
It is almost scary how fast she does it, how easily she lies. But I guess it's survival.
It is. She's validating Lady Xing's delusion just to protect herself from the fallout. She even encourages Jing to go ask right away. She said, I'll go over first and get the grandmother in a good mood for you.
But Lady Xing has a different plan. She's decided she's not going to the board to the grandmother first.
No, she wants to execute a hostile takeover of the asset directly.
She wants to corner Yuanyang privately.
Her logic is cold, but it's tactical. You can't keep a girl who wants to leave. Xing thinks if she can bully or bribe or just dazzle Yuanyang into saying yes,
then the grandmother will be forced to agree. It would look bad for the CEO to keep a staff member who wants to transfer to the VP's office.
She wants to secure the deal before it goes public.
And Fengji hears this plan and praises it to Xing's face. 1,000 times proper, she says. But internally.
Internally, she is rolling her eyes. She knows Yuanyang. In her thoughts, she calls her hateful or difficult.
Which is Fengji speak for.
Someone with a backbone. She knows Yuanyang will never, ever agree to this.
But now Fengji has a new problem. If she lets Lady Xing go off alone to the garden to try this terrible plan, and it fails...
Lady Xing might get paranoid. She might think, wait, Fengji knew about this. Maybe she sent a runner to warn them.
Paranoia is like the air they breathe in this family.
So Fengji needs an alibi. She needs a reason to be at the scene of the crime without actually committing it.
This brings us to the fried quail defense.
It is such a brilliant, specific little detail. Fengji grabs this gift of fried quails that she got from her aunt and says, oh, I was just bringing these over to you for dinner.
It seems like a total throwaway line, but it is strategic genius.
It gives her a perfectly legitimate reason to share a carriage with Lady Xing to the garden. It proves she was with Xing the entire time and couldn't have sent a secret message.
It's plausible deniability baked into a dinner delivery.
It is.
So they head to the garden. Fengji peels off to go see the grandmother, basically washing her hands of the situation, and Lady Xing goes hunting.
And this scene, this is where the corporate drama becomes, I think, a human tragedy.
It really does.
Lady Xing finds Yuanyang sewing alone under the trees. And the text pauses here. It takes a breath to give us this high-definition picture of Yuanyang.
We get the lotus-colored jacket, the green skirt, but the detail that really got me was the freckles. The text mentions she has fine skin with a little scattering of freckles near her nose.
It's a vital detail. In a world where women are often just described as, celestial beauties or jade statues, freckles make her human.
They make her real.
Exactly. She's not just an asset on a ledger. She's a young woman doing her job.
And Lady Xing walks in and just launches into the hard sell. She sends the other maids away, grabs Yuanyang's hand, and just starts pitching.
And the pitch is fascinating because Xing genuinely thinks she's offering the deal of a lifetime.
She really does. She frames it as a massive promotion. She says, the master has been looking for 6 months and he finally chose you. She tells her, you won't be like a bought servant. You'll be an auntie, a concubine immediately.
She uses that phrase, gold is finally swapped for gold.
Gold is finally swapped for gold. What a line.
The implication is that Yuanyang has this inherent value, but it's being wasted as a maid. Lady Xing is arguing that becoming Jia, she's possession, is the only way to cash out her true worth. It's a purely transactional view of a human being.
She really lays on the pressure, too. She says it's better to be a master's concubine than to eventually be married off to some lowly servant boy. She even promises that she, Xing, is easy to get along with.
And then the big promise, if you have a child, you will be equal to me.
Which is a lie.
A total lie, and they both probably know it. But Jing's desperate. She's trying to sell the benefits of the position because she needs Yuanyang to say yes. She's projecting her own ambition onto Yuanyang, thinking every girl wants to climb the ladder, right?
So what is Yuanyang's reaction to this high-pressure sales tactic?
Silence.
Yeah.
Nothing. Absolute silence. She blushes. She lowers her head. She tries to pull her hand away. But she doesn't speak. She doesn't say no, but she definitely doesn't say yes.
And you have to read the power dynamic there.
Oh, absolutely. Yuanyang cannot just scream at Lady Xing. She's a servant. Xing is a mistress. Open defiance is dangerous. It could get her beaten or sold.
So she uses the only weapon she has.
The weapon of the powerless, passive resistance. She just refuses to engage.
But Lady Xing completely misreads the room. She just sees the silence as shyness.
Because in her world, who would refuse a promotion? She thinks Yuanyang is just embarrassed or maybe waiting for her parents to get permission. Xing actually gets impatient with her.
She asks, "Why are you so sticky? Why are you so slow?"
She assumes the sale is made. She tells Yuanyang, don't worry, I'll go talk to your parents for you. She's so confident in the allure of her offer that she can't even conceive of a refusal.
She thinks she's won.
She leaves the garden thinking, mission accomplished. She heads over to Fengji's place to, I guess, debrief.
Which brings us to the aftermath, back at headquarters.
Right. Fengji is back in her room, talking with her own trusted lieutenant, Pinger. Pinger is like the VP of operations to Fengji's CEO. She knows everything.
She knows where all the bodies are buried.
And when Fengji tells her what's going on, Pinger calls it immediately. She just shakes her head. She says, this won't work. She knows Yuanyang. She knows. She values her dignity and her position with the grandmother far more than being one of Jia. She's forgotten toys.
So Fengji knows Jing is on her way back, and she does something here that I think just perfectly defines her management style.
Okay.
She tells Pinger to leave. She says, go hide in the garden.
Why do you think she does that?
My read on it is she's managing face. She knows there's a very high probability that Lady Xing is about to come back frustrated, or maybe she'll come back celebrating a victory that Fengji knows is completely fake.
Either way, it's going to be messy.
So messy. And you're spot on. It's damage control. If Xing comes back and has to admit defeat, or if she's angry and just venting, it is incredibly awkward to have servants watching. It's embarrassing for a mistress to look powerless in front of her inferiors.
So Fengji's clearing the room. It's like, let's not have the interns watching when the board member has a meltdown.
Exactly. She's creating a safe space for Xing to be messy without it becoming public gossip. It's a way of protecting the hierarchy, even while she knows the people at the top of it are acting like absolute fools.
So looking at this first half of the chapter, you get this clear match of organizational dysfunction.
You do. You have the absent executive, Ji Shi, making these selfish demands. You have the desperate middle manager, Lady Xing, bullying the staff to save her own skin.
And you have the consultant, Fengji, using fried quails and flattery just to avoid getting caught in the crossfire.
The tragedy, though, is that Lady Xing, who is the villain of this scene, I mean, let's be clear, she is pressuring a young woman into unwanted sexual servitude.
She is. But she is also a victim. The source text keeps emphasizing her awkwardness. She has no leverage. Her entire security depends on satisfying a lecherous, awful husband.
She's punching down because she's being crushed from above.
Precisely. She transmits the pressure rather than transforming it. She takes the abuse from the system and just passes it right on down to Yuanyang.
And then there's Fengji. We usually think of her as the ruthless one, but here, she's actually the voice of reason, at least at first.
She's the most rational person in the room. She recognizes that the stability of the whole household, the grandmother's happiness, is more important than Jia. She's lust. But here's the catch.
What's that?
When her rationality is rejected, she retreats to self-preservation.
She won't stick her neck out to save Yuanyang if it means getting her own head chopped off by Lady Xing.
No. She pivots. She becomes the quail defender. She secures her own safety and leaves Yuanyang to fend for herself against the predator.
It's a really cynical view of leadership, isn't it? You can offer good advice, but if the boss wants to drive the car off a cliff, sometimes you just have to buckle your own seatbelt and make sure you have an airbag.
And in this case, Yuanyang is the pedestrian standing on the edge of that cliff. Meanwhile, there's this concept, you see it in a lot of corporate whistleblowing scenarios.
Okay.
It's this moment where an employee realizes that the only way to save their integrity is to basically burn their career to the ground.
Right.
They have to make a scene. They have to scream fire
Okay.
when everyone else is just trying to keep the meeting going.
That is a very intense way to start, but you're not wrong. It's that moment where the path of least resistance, The path everyone expects you to take
Yeah.
is actually a trap. And the only way out is to stop being polite.
Exactly. And today, we are looking at maybe the most famous stop being polite moment in all of Chinese literature.
It really is. And honestly, if you want to understand the brutal power dynamics of this novel, you don't look at the masters in the main hall.
You look at this specific scene, it's happening in a garden, and it involves three maids and a very terrible proposition.
So let's set the stage, because the context here is everything. We're in the Jia household. It's wealthy, it's prestigious, it's huge. And Yuanyang is the chief maid to the absolute matriarch of the clan, the grandmother.
Which, in this world, makes Yuanyang a very big deal. I mean, she holds the keys to the grandmother's private storehouse. She manages her staff.
She has the ear of the most powerful person in the family.
She's effectively the chief of staff, yeah.
But she's still a maid. She is, technically property, because she has just received a job offer that she really can't refuse.
Ugh, yeah. The elder master, Master Shi, who's an old man at this point, he wants her as his concubine.
Wants is such a polite word for it.
It is. He feels entitled to her.
Now, I want to pause here and just, play devil's advocate for a second.
Because if I'm looking at this from a strictly upward mobility perspective, isn't this a promotion? You go from being a servant who stands and serves tea to a semi-master who gets to sit down.
Right.
You get better food, better clothes, people bow to you.
Yeah.
So why is she treating this like it's a funeral?
That is the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
And it brings us to this idea of golden handcuffs. Yes, on paper, becoming a concubine is a status bump, but it's also a door slamming shut.
How so?
As a high-ranking maid, there is still a possibility, however slim, that eventually you could be released. You could be married off to a normal person, maybe a steward, and live a relatively autonomous life.
So you have an exit strategy.
You have an exit strategy, exactly.
I don't-
But once you become a concubine, you are property of the clan forever. You are locked into the harem politics until you die.
How?
And with Master Shi specifically, well, everyone knows he's lecherous and fickle and vindictive. Yuanyang knows that if she takes this promotion, she is walking into a life of misery.
So she runs. The source material for today starts with her literally hiding. She tells this little white lie to a fellow maid, Amber, saying she's sick and skipping breakfast just to get away.
Just to get away from Lady Xing, she escapes into the Great View Garden.
And I want you, our listeners, to visualize this. This garden is supposed to be paradise on earth. It's serene, it's beautiful, rocks and streams.
It's where the young people go to write poetry. But for Yuanyang right now, it's just a hiding spot. She's terrified.
She's wandering around trying to catch her breath, and she runs into Pinger. Now, Pinger is another heavy hitter in the maid hierarchy.
Oh, absolutely. She's the trusted confidant of Wang Zhifeng and Jia Lian.
Right, so if Yuanyang is the chief of staff for the grandmother,
Pinger is the chief of operations for the household managers. They are peers, they're friends.
but this interaction is so awkward.
So awkward.
Pinger sees Yuanyang, and she immediately misreads the room. She points a finger at her and starts teasing. She calls out, "The new concubine is here."
Yeah, Nuand is here. She thinks Yuanyang has said yes. It creates this instant friction because Pinger just assumes that, of course, she would say yes.
That's the script.
That's the script. That's what everyone does.
Yuanyang's reaction, though, it's fascinating. She doesn't just say no.
No, she gets angry. She blushes. But the text says it's not from shyness. It's from rage. She snaps back and accuses Pinger of being in on the conspiracy.
That paranoia is so key. It just
Yeah.
shows how isolated she feels.
Totally. She's thinking the walls are closing in, and even my best friend is part of the trap.
But to Pinger's credit, she realizes her mistake instantly.
Immediately, she sees the look on Yuanyang's face and just drops the joke.
So she pulls Yuanyang over to a more secluded spot. They go under a maple tree and sit on a rock. And this image, it's just such a contrast.
It really is. Two young women in these beautiful silk dresses, sitting on a rock in this gorgeous garden.
Discussing a predatory old man.
That's the reality of their lives. The beauty of the garden is just a backdrop for their survival strategies.
Yuanyang starts venting. She lists off the other maids they grew up with, Zarin, Amber. She's appealing to their shared history.
I don't hide things from you, she says. And then she makes this incredibly bold statement. She says even if she did the full ceremonial workup,
The 3 matchmakers and 6 betrothals.
which is reserved for a principal wife, even if he offered that, she would still refuse.
That is a massive distinction to make.
Huge. She's saying, I'm not just refusing the role of concubine, I am refusing him. She's rejecting the man entirely, regardless of status.
And just as she's laying her soul bare, we get a jump scare.
Someone pops out from behind the rock. The garden has ears.
It's Shuren,
Yeah.
the chief maid to Bayou. She's been hiding there playing a game, and she just jumps out laughing.
Which is it. Yeah.
Okay, I have to ask about the dynamic here. Yuanyang is in crisis mode. She's crying. She's furious. And Shuren pops out laughing. And then Ping and Jiren start joking about it.
It does feel jarring to us, I think. But you have to think about how people cope with trauma or really high-stress situations.
Dark humor.
Sometimes, yeah. It's dark humor. It's problem-solving. They sit down on the rock with her, and they start treating Yuanyang's life like it's a strategy game.
They do. Pinger says, hey, I have a fix. Just tell the grandmother you're already promised to my master, Jialin.
And Ziren says, no, say your promise to Bayou.
They are trying to offer her a safe harbor.
That's a perfect way to put it. Both Jialin and Bayou are younger. They're arguably kinder masters. Being a concubine for them is seen as a good outcome.
They're saying, pick the lesser of two evils. Come join our teams.
Exactly.
But Yuanyang just snaps at them. She calls them hooves and wenches. She gets really aggressive.
Yeah, she accuses them of taking her tragedy and turning it into a joke.
Why is she so angry at them, though? I mean, they're trying to help.
Are they helping, or are they completely missing the point? See, Sharon and Pinger have already accepted their fates. They're kind of comfortable in their golden handcuffs. And Yuanyang is looking at them and saying, you don't get it. I don't want to be any man's property. I want out of this game entirely.
So she feels completely alone, because even her friends can only see solutions that involve submission.
Precisely. And Pinger eventually has to be the one to drop the hammer. She stops the joking and tells Yuanyang the hard truth.
What does she say?
She says, look, you can say no now. The grandmother will protect you, but the grandmother is old. She won't live forever.
That's the terror hanging over this whole scene.
It is. Pinger warns her, if you fall into Master Shi's hands later, after the grandmother is gone, he will make you pay. It's a threat of future retribution.
So, faced with that, submit now or be destroyed later, Yuanyang lays out her ultimatum, and it is just scorched earth.
It's a series of escalating vows. First, she says she will never marry anyone. She will serve the grandmother until the end.
Yeah.
Then she will mourn for 3 years. After that, she will cut her hair and become a nun.
And if they won't even let her be a nun.
She chooses death. She explicitly says there is still death. She would rather die than submit to him.
There's this quote she uses that I think just sums up her entire character. She asks, a cow won't drink water. Can you force its head down?
It's such a visceral metaphor. I mean, think about the physical strength it takes to force a large animal's head down.
Right.
They can drag the cow to the river, they can beat the cow, but they cannot make it swallow. Yuanyang is reclaiming the only territory she has left, her own will.
You can own my body, but you cannot compel my consent.
That's it?
So we have this heavy, heavy pact happening under the maple tree. The stakes are literally life and death. And then in walks the villain of the hour.
Enter the sister-in-law.
Now, Yuanyang describes this woman with a phrase that I absolutely need you to unpack because it is wild.
I know which one you mean.
She calls her a woman who traffics camels in 9 countries. What does that even mean?
It is a wildly specific insult, isn't it? It paints this picture of a hustler, a broker, someone who travels between different camps, the 9 countries, making deals, moving goods, trading favors.
So she's not loyal.
A camel trafficker has no loyalty to any one place. They are purely transactional.
So she's calling her sister-in-law a mercenary, a busybody who is just looking for a commission.
Exactly. It implies she's messy, she's in everyone's business, carrying gossip like cargo. And in this case, the cargo she's trying to sell is Yuanyang herself.
So the camel trafficker arrives, and she is just beaming. She thinks she's hit the jackpot.
Oh yeah, she's talking about this heavenly joy and great opportunity. She has completely bought into the narrative that this forced marriage is a good thing.
Or she's counting the money she's going to make.
More likely, yes.
Yeah.
She tells Yuanyang to come with her so she can explain all this happiness.
And Yuanyang, she doesn't just argue, she explodes. The text says she stands up and literally spits in her sister-in-law's face.
It's a shocking breach of decorum. I mean, maids in this household are trained to be composed, silent, invisible.
Right.
Spitting in a relative's face. That is Yuanyang burning the bridge while she is still standing on it.
And the insults that follow. We have to break these down because they are literary, but they are savage. She says, Song Huizong's hawk, Zhao Ziang's horse.
Right. This is one of those lines that just flies over modern heads, but it cuts deep. So Song Huizong and Zhao Ziyang were famous artists. They were known for painting hawks and horses.
Okay, so good paintings.
But here's the thing. They're just paintings.
Whoa. So she's saying it's fake.
Think of it like Instagram versus reality. Yuanyang is looking at her sister-in-law and saying, "You are showing me a filter. You're showing me this glossy, prestigious image of a hawk or a prize horse."
This idea of being a master's favorite.
But I know it's just paper. I know the reality is a cage. She is attacking the very concept of prestige that her family values.
And she doesn't stop there. She follows it up with, getting pustules from smallpox is a joyous thing too.
What a line. It's this grotesque inversion. In traditional culture, sometimes surviving smallpox was euphemistically called a joy because, you didn't die.
The bar is low.
Very low. But obviously the disease itself, the pustules, the fever, it's horrific. She's looking at this marriage proposal and saying, your definition of joy is a disease. You're asking me to celebrate getting sick.
But then she just cuts right to the real motive. She knows exactly why her family's pushing this.
Oh yeah, it's not for her benefit. She accuses them of wanting to be uncles.
This is the economic reality.
It is. If Yuanyang becomes the elder master's concubine, her brother and sister-in-law become the in-laws of the master. Wow. They get social capital.
They can walk around the servants' quarters and even outside in the city, acting like big shots.
Bullying people.
She says it so plainly. You want to sell me into a fire pit so you can bully people outside?
And then she drops this prediction. She says, if I get status, you'll act like tyrants. But if I fall out of favor, if I end up miserable or dead,
you'll shrink your turtlenecks and leave me to die.
The imagery is just, wow. She's calling them cowards, hiding in a shell. She is dismantling the entire family structure. She's saying, I know I am just currency to you.
It's just heartbreaking. She realizes she has no allies in her own bloodline.
None.
So the sister-in-law is standing there, spit on her face, completely humiliated. And she tries to do what manipulative people always do. She pivots. She turns to Pinger and Jaren.
Right. She tries to divide and conquer. She quotes a proverb, don't speak of short things in front of dwarfs.
Which means what, exactly?
She's implying that by trashing the idea of being a concubine, Yuanyang is actually insulting Pinger and Jaren since they are effectively in that role or on that path.
So she's trying to make them turn on Yuanyang.
Oh, I shouldn't discuss this because these two ladies might get offended. It's a transparent attempt to stir the pot.
Does it work?
Not even a little bit. And this is a great moment for female solidarity. Pinger and Jaren immediately jump in.
They have her back.
They tell the sister-in-law, do not drag us into this. We don't have families trying to sell us out. She's cursing you, not us. They shut her down completely.
The sister-in-law realizes she's lost the room, she's lost the argument, and she's lost face.
She scuttles away. It's a victory, but it's an exhausting one. Yuanyang just collapses in tears. The adrenaline crash is real.
And just when you think the scene is done, we get the final twist.
The second eavesdropper. Apparently, this rock is the most popular spot in the entire garden.
We said the walls have ears.
Well, the rocks do too.
Bayou himself walks out. And he makes a joke. He says, 4 eyes didn't see Jaren. Well, 6 eyes didn't see me.
He's trying to break the tension. He's been hiding behind the rock basically the whole time.
Wait, isn't that kind of creepy? He listened to the whole thing.
In the context of the novel, Bayou often functions as the witness. He's the male character who deeply empathizes with the plight of the women around him.
So he isn't listening to gather blackmail?
No. He's listening and realizing the horror of their situation. The text mentions his mood, right? He's making a joke, but deep down.
He is unhappy in his heart. That's the line.
Yeah. While he's teasing them on the surface, he has absorbed the weight of Yuanyang's ultimatum. He understands that the system that gives him all the power, is destroying them.
He invites them back to his room, the Yiheng courtyard, because the stone they're sitting on is cold.
Which is such a small human gesture. The stone is cold. Come have tea. He can't fix the structural problem. He can't stop his uncle from being a predator. But he can offer a warm room and a moment of safety.
Meanwhile, we're dealing with Jia Shi, the elder master.
Right. He's the older brother. He has the title. He has the money. And he decides he wants a new possession. He sets his sights on Yuanyang.
But he doesn't just walk up and ask her. He launches what I can only call a coercion campaign.
That is the perfect term for it. Because in a household like this, a master doesn't do his own dirty work. He utilizes the hierarchy, he weaponizes the people around her, and he starts with the person who technically should be protecting the household morals. His own wife, Lady Xing.
This part is so messed up. Hey, honey, go get me a new girlfriend. And she just goes to do it.
It sounds bizarre to modern ears, but we have to look at the cultural context. In this society, a virtuous wife was expected to manage her husband's household, and that included sourcing his concubines. If she refused, she could be labeled jealous.
Right, and jealousy was a big deal.
It was one of the legal 7 grounds for divorce in ancient China.
So Lady Xing is basically acting out of self-preservation. She's keeping her job.
Exactly. She's a weak character, essentially a doormat for her husband. So she tries to broker the deal through the path of least resistance, Yuanyang's family. She summons Yuanyang's sister-in-law.
This sister-in-law. The text introduces her as Jin Wenxiang's wife. And honestly, she is a piece of work.
Oh, totally.
When Lady Xing tells her, hey, the master wants your sister-in-law, she isn't worried about Yuanyang's well-being. She sees dollar signs.
She sees status. She calls it great fortune. We have to remember that for a servant family, having a daughter elevated to the status of a concubine or minor wife to the elder master is a ticket to better treatment for the whole clan. It's social mobility. She thinks Yuanyang will be thrilled.
She thinks she's bringing good news. She runs to Yuanyang like, guess what? You won the lottery.
And Yuanyang's reaction is immediate disgust. She shuts it down. She actually scolds her sister-in-law for being so greedy and blind.
But here's where the thriller aspect kicks in. The sister-in-law has to go back to Lady Xing to report the answer. But she can't admit she failed, right? She's terrified of the masters. She wants to save face, so she lies.
This is such a crucial detail. It shows how information gets distorted in these high-pressure environments. The sister-in-law claims that it wasn't just Yuanyang who rejected her. She tells Lady Xing that the other top maids, Yuren and Pinger, were there, and that they also scolded her.
She's trying to spread the blame. It wasn't my fault. There was a whole gang of them.
Exactly. She's trying to cover her own embarrassment.
But she makes a massive tactical error. Because Wang Shiftney, who we know as Fengji, happens to be in the room with Lady Xing. And we love Fengji because she is sharp as a tack. She is basically the CEO of the household.
Fengji is the manager. She knows where every coin goes, and she knows where every person is.
Immediately, Fengji catches the lie. She points out, I sent Pinger on an errand. She couldn't have been scolding you. But what's interesting is that the machinery doesn't stop. Lady Xing has failed, so the threat escalates.
Right. Plan A, the wife failed. So now Master Shi gets involved directly. And his wrath is terrifying. He doesn't go to Yuanyang yet. He goes to the men. He summons his son, Jialian.
And this dynamic is fascinating because it totally deconstructs the idea of male power in this book. Yeah. You have Jialian, a grown man, a master himself, but in front of his father.
He's completely helpless. A child.
Master? She wants Jialian to go find Yuanyang's father, Jin Kai, to force the marriage, effectively saying, go get the dad so he can sign the contract.
And Jialian tries to stall. He knows this is a bad idea. He knows the grandmother won't like it. So he tells his dad, oh, Jin Kai is in Nanjing. He's practically dying. He's senile. He can't come.
He gives that very specific excuse, right?
Yes, he describes the father as having phlegm confusing his heart.
Phlegm confusing his heart. I love that.
It's a very specific, traditional Chinese medicine diagnosis, basically saying the father is medically incapacitated and mentally gone. It's a polite way of saying he's useless to you right now.
And how does the loving father react to his son's logical medical explanation?
He explodes, curses Jialian, calls him names, dismisses him. It shows the absolute authority of the patriarch. Reason doesn't matter. Facts don't matter. It's just, I don't care if he has phlegm. I want what I want.
It's like talking to a brick wall that can scream at you.
Yeah.
So plan A failed. Plan B, the son stalled. So Master Shi goes to plan C, the brother. He summons Yuanyang's brother, Jin Wenxing.
And this is where we get the ultimatum. Master Shi delivers a monologue to the brother that is just chilling. It reveals so much about his own insecurity.
Okay, let's unpack that monologue. Because he doesn't just say, I want her. He creates this entire narrative in his head about why she's refusing him.
Right. He projects his own deep-seated insecurities. He says, she must think I'm too old. He knows he's creepy. And then he accuses her of being in love with the younger men, specifically the protagonist, Bao Yu, or his own son, Jialian.
He's paranoid. He thinks she's holding out for the handsome young masters.
But then comes the trap, and this is the part that feels like a horror movie. He tells the brother to relay a message. She can never escape my hand.
That line gave me chills reading it. Never escape my hand. It sounds like a villain in a slasher film.
It's meant to. He lays out her bleak options. He says, unless she dies, or unless she shaves her hair and becomes a nun, I will eventually get her. He forbids her from marrying anyone else. He threatens to break her if she refuses. It's not a proposal. It's a hostage situation.
So the brother, terrified, goes to Yuanyang and relays this. Look, he knows you're waiting for Bao Yu. He's going to ruin us. Just say yes.
And Yuanyang realizes something critical here. She realizes that a private refusal is impossible. If she says no in her room, they'll just keep pressuring her, gaslighting her, or they'll trick her. She needs a nuclear option.
She needs witnesses. She needs to go public.
Right. She demands to be taken to the matriarch, Grandmother Jia. And this leads us to the showdown in the hall.
And the setting here is so important. It's not just Grandmother Jia sitting alone. The room is filled with the most powerful women in the family. You have Lady Wang, Bao Yu's mother, Aunt Shu, Li Wan, and of course our CEO, Feng Ji.
It's the royal court of the Jia household.
And in walks Yuanyang, dragging that scheming sister-in-law with her.
She kneels down, and she doesn't just complain or whine. She gives a speech that is an act of pure rebellion. She exposes everything.
She lays it all out. She tells Grandmother Jia exactly what the Elder Master said, the threats, the coercion. And she specifically brings up the accusation that she's waiting for Bao Yu.
And that detail is so important because she's clearing her name. In this society, being accused of having a secret affair or waiting for a young master would ruin her reputation. It implies she's loose or ambitious, so she airs it out to prove she has no designs on anyone.
And then she takes the oath. This is the climax of her character arc. She swears she will never marry. And she gets specific.
She does. She says she won't marry Bao Yu or Bao Gold or Bao Silver or Bao Emperor.
I loved that line. I don't care if he's made of solid gold, I'm not interested.
It emphasizes that this isn't about money. It isn't about looking for a better deal. She is rejecting the entire system of marriage and servitude. She offers to serve Grandmother Jia until death, and after that she says she'll either kill herself or become a nun.
But the imagery she uses. She swears by the sun, the moon, and the stars. And she invokes this incredibly graphic curse upon herself.
Yes. She says, if I am lying, may I rot into sauce.
Rot into sauce!
It's visceral. She says her throat will rot out. It's a violent, grotesque image meant to prove her absolute sincerity. In a superstitious society, invoking the spirits and inviting your own body to rot is not something you do lightly. She is literally betting her soul and her body on this refusal.
And to prove she's not bluffing, she pulls out a weapon.
Hidden in her sleeve. A pair of scissors.
And she starts hacking at her own hair.
Now for us, a haircut might not seem like a huge deal. It's just hair. It grows back. But in the Qing dynasty, under Confucian values, your body, your hair, your skin are gifts from your parents. To damage them is unfilial.
And cutting the hair specifically means something, right?
It's a symbol of renouncing the world, of becoming a nun. It's a symbolic suicide of her social identity.
The other women have to physically tackle her to stop it. They grab her hands, but she's already cut off a chunk of hair. The chaos in that room must have been unbelievable.
And this act changes the energy in the room instantly. It shifts from a domestic dispute to a tragedy in progress. The scissors make it real.
And curiously, this triggers a massive blame game. Grandmother Jia. She is the most powerful person in the family, the matriarch. But in this moment, seeing her loyal maid driven to this point, she explodes. But she seems almost paranoid.
She feels besieged. You have to understand, Yuanyang is her personal maid, her eyes and ears, the one person she trusts implicitly. She feels like her family is plotting to strip her of her support system. She says, I only have this one reliable person left, and you're all plotting to take her away from me. But in her anger, she lashes out at the completely wrong person.
She turns on Lady Wang. Now, just to clarify the family tree here, Lady Wang is Bao Yu's mom. She's the wife of the younger brother, Jia Zhang. The guy causing all the trouble is Jia Shi, the older brother. So Lady Wang has literally nothing to do with this.
Nothing at all. They are separate households within the compound. But Grandmother Jia accuses her of being two-faced, acting dutiful on the outside, but plotting against her on the inside.
But, and this is what drives me crazy about this society, Lady Wang just takes it. She stands up and doesn't say a word. Why doesn't she just say, excuse me, grandmother, that's my brother-in-law, not my husband?
She can't. The hierarchy demands absolute submission to the mother-in-law. Even if the accusation is wild and unfair, defending herself would be seen as talking back, which is unfilial. It would make her look worse. So the room goes dead silent. Aunt Sue, Bao Yu, everyone is paralyzed.
It's a stalemate. The grandmother is raging, the innocent Lady Wang is being humiliated, and nobody knows how to fix it.
It's a diplomatic crisis in the living room.
Enter the unsung hero of this scene, Tanshin.
Tanshin is incredible here. She's the granddaughter, a young woman, and importantly, she's the daughter of a concubine, so her status is a bit complex. She was listening outside the window.
I love the visual of that. She's eavesdropping, hears the train wreck, and decides, okay, nobody else is going to do it. I have to go in there and fix this.
She walks in, smiling, which is a brave move in a room full of angry, crying people, and she uses pure logic. She asks Grandmother Jia, how is this Lady Wang's fault? The elder master is her brother-in-law. Since when do sisters-in-law know the private bedroom affairs of their brothers-in-law?
It's such a simple point. In that society, men and women were segregated. A sister-in-law wouldn't be chatting about who the brother-in-law wants to sleep with.
Exactly. It cuts through the emotion. She gives Grandmother Jia a face-saving way out. She says, even if she knew, she'd have to pretend not to know to maintain propriety.
And it works. The tension just snaps. Grandmother Jia immediately realizes she's been unfair.
She admits it right away. I'm old and confused. She apologizes to Lady Wang and Aunt Sue.
But the room is still awkward.
Wait.
You just go from screaming and haircutting to normal conversation. So Grandmother Jia needs to fully restore the vibe. She turns to Bayu and jokes, why didn't you warn me I was yelling at the wrong person?
It's a classic deflection. She makes Baoyu the scapegoat, but in a loving way. She tells him to kneel and comfort his mother. It's a ritual of apology performed through the son. It allows everyone to save face without the grandmother having to grovel too much.
And then, to bring it all home, Fengji jumps back in. We haven't heard from her since the beginning of the scene, really, but she delivers the closing line that just lands perfectly.
Fengji has impeccable comedic timing. Everyone is blaming themselves or apologizing, and Fengji says, actually, none of you are to blame. It's grandmother's fault.
Bold move, blaming the matriarch to her face,
Oh.
after she just screamed at everyone.
It is. It's high risk, high reward. But listen to the logic. She says, who told you to raise such excellent servants? Even I would want her if I were a man.
That is genius. She compliments Grandmother Jia on her taste, she validates Yuanyang's value, and she turns the whole terrifying ordeal into a compliment.
Oh, she's just too good. That's the problem. Exactly. It transforms the tension into laughter. She reframes the narrative. We aren't fighting because the master is a predator. We are fighting because Yuanyang is just so wonderful. And then she follows it up with a bit of self-deprecation to make sure she doesn't seem arrogant.
Right, when Grandmother Jia jokes, fine, I won't give her to the old master. Maybe I'll give her to your husband, Jia Lin.
And Fengji replies with the burnt rolls joke. She says, Jia Lian doesn't deserve her. He's only fit to be stuck with me and Pinger. We're just a pair of burnt rolls.
Burnt rolls, like overcooked, tough bread. She calls herself and her loyal aide trash, basically, to make everyone laugh.
It's a defense mechanism, but it's also high social intelligence. By lowering her own status with a joke, she elevates everyone else and signals that the danger has passed. The crisis is over. We can laugh at ourselves again.